So here is a very extraordinary situation that the Kumaras, who were very, very austere sages, after having practiced severe austerities and after having cultivated knowledge to come to the point of self-realization. The process of jnana, to cultivate knowledge, transcendental knowledge for self-realization, is a very, very slow process. So the Kumaras, when they were born, they decided that we shall dedicate our life for self-realization through cultivation of transcendental knowledge. And when their father asked them to get married and increase the population, they refused. They said, we want to seriously pursue the path of cultivating transcendental knowledge for self-realization. And they also had the yogic power by which they could remain Kumaras. That means their body would not grow old. Even though they are among the oldest people in the entire universe, they appear like small boys, say 8-year-old boys. But they are keeping themselves in that condition by yogic power, so that they may not be disturbed by sex impulse. Before the body changes to adult stage, there is no disturbance from the sex impulse. So it is for this particular reason that the Kumaras, being very serious about self-realization, they decided to keep their body in that Kumara state. And that's what they call Kumaras also. So they are self-realized and they have no particular desire, no particular material desire of any kind. They are liberated souls. They can freely travel anywhere in the entire creation by dint of their mystic power. So once they happen to come to Vaikuntha, freely wandering without any particular desire, it's difficult to imagine for us that some liberated souls will be freely wandering like that. They are absorbed in thoughts of transcendence. They are absorbed in thoughts of Brahman, the absolute truth as Brahman, which is the ultimate reality that is described in the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. This absorption in Brahman by those who are Brahman realized transcendentalists. Typically the transcendentalists who follow the path of jnana. What is that? 12th chapter, 3rd verse and 4th verse. Anirdesham, avyaktam, achintyam, all very, very difficult to realize attributes, but they are completely absorbed in that state of Brahman realization. So they are not interested in anything material. Neither can any material allurement distract their attention. If there is an opportunity for some spiritual discussion, then they may speak or hear or discuss. Otherwise, they are not interested in any other material pursuit, including the pursuit of self-realization itself. They are no more interested in all these practices. So they freely move around, and they happen to come to Vaikuntha. Now Vaikuntha, their experience is different than the experience they've had in this material universe. In material world, everything is material. Material means there is a distinction between matter and spirit. So matter is dead. It has no life. It lacks consciousness. So here we make the distinction between living or life symptoms, which is to be found in every living being, and dead matter. Now when you enter the spiritual world, everyone and everything is living. Everything is of the quality of spirit. So they were completely amazed as soon as they entered the spiritual world. It is something they never experienced before in the material world. It's totally different experience. Immediately they began to experience a kind of ecstasy. And this experience of ecstasy was not like any materialist may experience some thrilling ecstasy when there is a kind of sense gratification, either gross or subtle. So in that ecstasy, they completely become eager to understand what is happening to their mind. Mind means here consciousness. And they can understand that it is not material. This experience of ecstasy is not material. Because they are situated in self-realization, they are able to distinguish between what is material and what is spiritual perfectly. So they are not having any doubt, or they are not under illusion that some kind of happiness, whether it is material or spiritual, they have no doubt, they are not in illusion. They are not mistakenly thinking something material to be spiritual. No. So they are distinctly experiencing the spiritual happiness, the transcendental happiness. Now this is also called Brahmananda. But this Brahmananda is different from the experience of Brahmananda when one is absorbed in the thought of transcendence, when one is merged in experience of Brahman realization. That Brahmananda is of one kind. Qualitatively no difference, but the personal experience is different in Vaikuntha. So they are very, very curious to find out what is this experience of bliss, transcendental happiness that we are going through, we are experiencing. And particularly when they try to enter, now even in Vaikuntha there is variety. Everything, even though of the same spiritual quality, there is variety. Variety of manifestation of spirit. So this is also something very much unique to the spiritual world. In the material world, the experience of spirit is only the living entities in various bodies and the Paramatma who is accompanying the living entities in all the bodies. This is the only spiritual experience. But remember, the living entities are generally in ignorance about their spiritual nature. And Paramatma is seated neutral. He is seated neutral. So, it is very difficult for somebody who has a realization of spirit or Brahman to actually understand what is the variety or diversity of spirit. So generally their conclusion is that spirit is without variety. Of course, there are category of spiritualists called impersonalists who start with this premise that absolute truth is impersonal, Brahman is only impersonal, there is no variety. But for those who are seekers of the truth, who are not coming to a conclusion right in the beginning before they actually go through self-realization, such people, when they go to Vaikuntha or when they have darshan of the Supreme Lord or when they come in contact with pure devotees, then their experience is different. They experience something of the variety of spirit or spiritual quality or spiritual nature. So this is what the Kumaras experienced, the variety of spiritual nature, the variety of spiritual nature. And when they saw the particular abode of the Lord, just like the demigods used to come to Dwaraka to visit Krishna, Dwaraka, Krishna is living with all his devotees. Right? All the devotees have wonderful palaces, wonderful buildings like palaces. Dwaraka is very, very beautiful. But there is particular palace where Krishna resides with his 16,108 queens. So those palaces where Krishna resides still are distinctly different. Similarly, in Vaikuntha there are wonderful buildings, but the particular abode of Narayana, that attracted their particular attention. Oh, the abode of the Lord, which is distinctly unique, it is differently standing out. So they try to enter the abode of Narayana. But the abode of Narayana, there are so many gates, 7 gates. They just pass through But at the 7th gate, suddenly they were stopped. Now when they were stopped at the 7th gate, they became very upset. Who is this who's stopping us? Because what is their experience? They freely move around everywhere. Nowhere, nobody stops them. Everywhere they are freely moving. After they become self-realized, after they are absorbed in the thoughts of Brahman, after they have got the mystic power to freely travel everywhere, material and spiritual world. This is the mystic power. So, then nobody stops them anywhere. Everywhere they are freely traveling. And their quality is, their attitude is, they don't want anything in particular. They are not looking for something. They are not seeking anything. Some honor, some respect, some money, some respect, nothing. They don't want anything. So who is this who is stopping us? They became very upset. Now, we should remember that in the spiritual world, what is the atmosphere? The atmosphere is of Yogamaya, unlike the material world where the atmosphere is of Mahamaya. So Yogamaya is also the energy of the Lord. Mahamaya is also energy of the Lord. But Mahamaya is of the nature of putting us in illusion, of covering the truth, of presenting something which is not real as real. Yogamaya is not like that. Yogamaya presents the truth as it is. Yogamaya presents the truth in reality. So, there is no presentation of some illusion. So, that Yogamaya atmosphere, internal potency of the Lord, everything is conducive for devotional service. Everything is Krishna conscious atmosphere. So, the doorkeepers stopping the Kumaras, and the Kumaras becoming upset with the doorkeepers. Not just upset, they became very angry. And in anger they cursed the two doorkeepers, Jaya and Vijaya. The 4 Kumaras cursed Jaya and Vijaya, the 2 doorkeepers. So now what has happened? Now remember, this is happening under the internal potency of the Lord, Yogamaya. So it should not be compared with anybody becoming angry in this world under the influence of Mahamaya. These two are totally different. It's not the same. One is of the quality of ignorance. Avidya karma sangya anya tatiya shakti rishyate. This Mahamaya is characterized by avidya and karma. Avidya is ignorance, karma is fruitive activity. See, these are the 2 prominent characteristics of this illusory energy, material energy. Whereas Yogamaya, full of knowledge, and there is no trace of any fruitive activity. All activities are completely spiritual, of the quality of devotional service. So, that Yogamaya, under the influence of Yogamaya, or in the nature of Yogamaya, whatever is happening is completely according to the will of the Lord. So later on it will be explained that the Lord is telling that there is no mistake on the part of the doorkeepers to have stopped the Kumaras, and there is no mistake in the Kumaras becoming angry and upset and cursing the two doorkeepers. So, the whole incident is actually part of the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Lord. This is the extraordinary thing about the Lord's Leela. The Lord's Leela is not a scripted drama that you have to do this, I will do this, then somebody else will do this. Always when you do drama, what do we do? Of course, our goal is to entertain the audience, but still we will do some practice, we'll do some rehearsal, we'll say you do this, you do that, I will say this, you will say that, this way, that way, everything. So the Lord's Leela is not a scripted drama. The Kumaras, they were very upset, but later on they are repenting. Now, what happened after they cursed? The Lord personally came. And then the Kumaras, when they saw the Lord, they were completely very pleased at heart to have darshan of the Lord. And then they fell down flat to offer obeisances. Then the tulsi leaves which are offered at the lotus feet of the Lord, along with the saffron dust particles that entered their nostrils, and they experienced another variety of ecstasy. See the variety of ecstasy that is there in spiritual affairs, in devotional service. That is subject matter of Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. What are the varieties of ecstasies the devotees experience after they reach the perfection of bhakti? That's the last section of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So, they experience another variety of ecstasy. And they offered wonderful prayers. And now they are telling the Lord that certainly we were wrong in cursing the two doorkeepers. So kindly pardon us. And you may give any punishment that is suitable for us, including sending us to hell. Hell is below the lowest planet in the material world. The lowest planet is Patala. Below the Patala is special planet for those who are to be given punishment by Yamaraj for very grievous type of sinful activities. Very grievous type of sinful activities. So the Kumaras are telling, let us be born in hellish conditions, but we are asking something, that we may never be deprived of hearing your glories constantly. Our mind may never be forgetful of your lotus feet, service of your lotus feet. And we may always be speaking of your glorious activities, of your glories. So mind, words, and the hearing, the body engaged in service. So they want devotional service in any condition of life. It doesn't matter, including being sent to hell. So Prabhupada in the purport explains, for a devotee, as long as he is engaged in devotional service, he does not mind which condition he is residing, which place he is residing. He does not bother about it. Even in the material world, the most abominable condition of life in hell, even that devotees don't mind. Na putaschana bibhyati narayana parasarve na putaschana bibhyati. This is a statement by Shiva in a later canto. He described one particular incident where Parvati cursed. No, I won't go into that story. It will take a lot of time. So Shiva says about the devotees, pure devotees of the Supreme Lord, that they are not afraid of any abominable condition of material existence. Why? Because their consciousness is completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness. So the Kumaras, they were able to achieve that perfection of spiritual life by the grace of the Lord when they happened to enter the Vaikuntha and they had darshan of the Lord and they smelled the tulsi leaves mixed with the saffron dust particles at the lotus feet of the Lord when they offered their obeisances to the Lord, completely being enchanted by His particular transcendental beauty. This was the realization, the Bhagavan realization that the Kumaras were able to achieve by their going to Vaikuntha. Contrast this with Durvasa Muni. You would have heard. Durvasa Muni once went to Vaikuntha in order to, escape the attack of Sudarshan Chakra. So he is entering Vaikuntha in complete anxiety, as contrast with Kumaras who are completely peaceful. And there he is meeting Narayana and he is asking, please save me from the Sudarshan Chakra. So Durvasa Muni is not at all impressed with the variety in the Vaikuntha. He is not impressed by the Lord's transcendental form. Nothing. Whereas the Kumaras, they are able to achieve Bhagavan realization, the realization of the transcendental personality of the Absolute Truth. This is the perfection of realization of the Absolute Truth, Bhagavan realization. And this Bhagavan realization is also not just having darshan, like Narad Muni had when he was doing tapasya in his previous life. This is accompanied by the ecstasy, accompanied by the special ecstasy, devotional ecstasy. And that has made them perfect devotees. And that is why they are praying to the Lord in this way, in this manner of how any pure devotee will offer prayers to the Lord. The same prayer, same type of prayer, you can see all pure devotees offer to the Lord. All pure devotees. This is the result of realizing the perfection of realization of the Absolute Truth as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That one comes to the conclusion that is simply born to engage in devotional service in any condition. I don't care for anything else. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches this in the Shikshashtaka prayers. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaya. See, this is totally different from the kind of prayers you find in the Vedic literature. In all other sections of the Vedas, except the section on bhakti, pure devotional service, everywhere you'll find prayers, kindly protect, kindly help, kindly grant us this wish, this boon, that understanding, some other gift. Only pure devotees never pray for any of these things. Never. On the other hand, devotees pray, it doesn't matter even if we go to hell. Kunti Devi is praying, let there be more and more miseries, if we can remember you. Because that is her experience before the battle of Kurukshetra. What was Kunti's experience? That constantly there were dangers, and because she is a devotee, her only way to overcome the dangers was to simply think of Krishna, remember Krishna, pray to Krishna, take Krishna's blessings or mercy. So Kunti is thinking, now that all the problems are over, no more miseries. Oh, that's a very dangerous condition, because in the material world the tendency is that unless there are difficulties, we may forget the Supreme Lord. So in order not to forget the Supreme Lord, Kunti Devi is praying that how can we ensure that we don't forget you? Our experience is we pray very nicely when there are miseries. So let us continue to have miseries. So we'll continuously pray, and by continuously remembering you, praying to you, always thinking of you, we are guaranteed to actually get out of this material existence. Apunar bhava darshanam. No more material existence. By constantly thinking of Krishna, by constantly praying to Krishna. So, always devotees' prayers are unique in this respect. First of all, devotees don't ask anything material from the Supreme Lord. Secondly, devotees don't mind or are not afraid of any misery, material misery or materially abominable condition. They are not afraid. Na kutaschana bibhyati. Any condition. Devotees are completely perfect in their consciousness, simply by being absorbed in thought of Krishna, in devotional service to Krishna. So Prabhupada concludes this purport by telling, this is the advantage of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, that in any condition of life, if one goes on chanting, one can be always happy, one will never be unhappy. Any condition of life. But this chanting has to be of the quality of the prayers offered by Kumaras, of the prayers offered by Kunti, or the prayers offered by Dhruva Maharaj. When Dhruva Maharaj had darshan of Vishnu, on whom he was meditating, in the beginning he was desiring to get out of his tapasya a gift from Vishnu. He wanted a very big kingdom, bigger than his father's and grandfather's kingdom. But after he had darshan of Vishnu, Swamin Kritarto Asmi Varam Nayache. No, I don't want any kingdom. I don't want anything material. So this is the nature of prayers, kind of prayers devotees offer. So we are taught by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's not necessary to wait till you have darshan of the Lord. You can accelerate your progress in Krishna consciousness if right in the beginning you offer prayers of the quality of pure devotional service, of pure bhakti. You make rapid progress in Krishna consciousness. This is the gift of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is teaching neophytes that don't get into this material business of offering prayers for some material benefit. No. So I'll stop here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.